So we are here with, I guess, still the new Kingstonian manager, Scott Harris. He's not managed a game yet,
Yeah,
though news obviously came out a few weeks ago. Scott, welcome to Kingstonian. We won't talk too much about off-field matters, but we're all aware of the kind of mood and vibes around the club at the moment. So why Kingstonian? Why now?
Um, well, I mean, why Kingstonian? There's a sort of a few little bits and pieces that all add up to the same answer, really. First of all, fair bit of sort of family history, which
Yeah.
I think always stands for something. Going way back to even when I was a little boy, hearing about like my dad playing for Kingstonian. Long time ago, but yeah, I've even got the newspaper clipping still here somewhere. He obviously went on to become the manager there on more than one occasion. I had a little spell playing there as a young guy, and my cousin Max Huswick played a number of games for the club into the hundreds, and spent a lot of time sort of back and forth there. Over that sort of period of time as well, and it's just I've grown up knowing Kingstonian as a massive non-league club. Obviously, people refer to the days at Wembley, and also the cup ties live on TV back in those days, and obviously performances in the league were sort of there to match as well in those days. Getting over 1,000 people regularly at the grounds and watching what we would call like National League now, and yeah, it was that's what I've grown up knowing the club as. And all right, yeah, there's been a bit of a period where after leaving the ground, which was obviously traumatic for everybody, and it still is. Yeah, it's been a bit of a down time, and from my point of view, I've already sort of been through one big challenge at Walton. Started sort of 4 years back, finding a club at its lowest point, and yeah, listen, by no means am I saying that was all down to me, but as the manager of the team, I'm sure I played a fairly big part in helping get a club back on its feet, and dare I say, thriving. And yeah, like I'm one of these people. I think all football managers are. You always think, why not? You dream. You don't. If you're always going to think of reasons not to do something, you're not going to want to manage too many non-league teams because we're finding situations where it's all set up on a plate for you and it can't possibly go wrong. Like, show me where that is.
Yeah. What? Where do you see this project going? What are the aims? Both,
Well,
1,
sort of,
3, 5 years. Where do you want to take Case?
yeah. I mean, physically, where it's going. First of all, it's going to Rains Park, but then the end of the line. I'd love to still be here when the club is, setting foot into a new ground. Um, I know there's probably people out there that have lived this story, from minute one right up to present day that are probably really skeptical that these things can ever happen and whatever else. But all I can do is give you what I have, which is obviously very, very recent, is that every effort is being made. I dare say, for risk of being wrong here, maybe more effort than ever before to try and make this thing happen. Now, in the meantime, my idea is that we can have a successful team on the pitch. Now, success obviously is all relative. It's at this moment in time we're going to be in step four, which is a level that I've got recent history at. Had some success in it, but yeah, listen, does it? Am I going to be stupid enough to say, right, we're going to go and win the league straight away? Again, it's not a good idea saying things like that. But I'm pretty safe sleeping at night knowing that we're going to have a good team on the pitch. And that will bring, in my mind, when I say about the success being relative, for to be sort of stopping the bleeding, as it were, and having a team that's going to win more games than it loses, that's a good start. And then hopefully the positive energy can sort of start to flow around the place, albeit not our ground, but let's make it our own for however long, couple of years, whatever it may be. Let's try and just move on. you know. And I know there'll be people that don't want to hear that because it's where they're at with it all. But I would stress, come and watch the team play, come and enjoy that, and who knows where that may take you.
Um, you mentioned a couple of years at Rains Park. And you've also mentioned wanting to have, a good competitive team. What reassurances have you been given that promotion, if that were to happen this season, is even possible in terms of future ground grading without? Because presumably, again, this isn't your responsibility, but I can't imagine K's want to be pouring money into Rains Park Vale to do up their ground if we're then going to leave in a couple of years. So, what reassurances have you been given that promotion is even a possibility in this season?
Well, again, sort of like maybe an uneducated answer here, but from the little I know about sort of promotions and relegations at this kind of level of football is, firstly, when you do get a promotion, you are uh, allowed a grace period to have work done. So it's not one of these situations where day one of the next season this and this have all got to be ticked off or you're not kicking a ball. I don't think that's the case. And secondly, on top of that, Rains Park are quite ambitious. As far as they have been doing stuff to that ground since the minute Josh took over, to my knowledge, and it's still happening now as we speak. New fencing just went up around the ground recently. New catering areas have just been put up. The pitch is constantly being worked on. I was at the Youth Team Cup final the other day. The stands just had new seats put in it. They're edging their way along there to bringing that place a lot further forward than what it used to be back in the days, when they were languishing at the bottom of combined counties year in, year out. It has moved on a lot since then. They're ambitious and they've got, to my knowledge, some backing there financially. So, yeah, I don't see that in the short term, Rains Park's ground is a huge issue to us. I for one am perfectly happy with the playing situation there as far as the surface and what have you, and yeah, it's more than doable for us.
Okay. In terms of the league, obviously league allocations aren't out yet. I'd imagine, it would take something very weird for us not to be in the South Central. What do you make of that league as you look ahead to next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, one sort of like bare basic requirement if you're ground sharing is that us and Rains Park would definitely have to be in the same division. That's something that's a given. So, yeah, geographically, I think the line can sometimes adjust from year to year to fit people in with who's been relegated, who's been promoted, and what have you. I guess you can never be certain with these things, but you're having a fair assumption there that we'll probably be in South Central. If we're not, we're not. But I would, let's be frank, I'd prefer it. As far as the travel and what have you is concerned, and it's a league that I'm familiar with. But the league as I knew it 2 years ago, it's not the same now. You've lost a couple, you've gained a few. Some of them well backed financially. Some with new managers, some with there's already been a fair bit of change as far as I can see. And yeah, but some of the clubs, they're always going to be strong. Some are always, struggling away, and that's life. And a lot of that comes down to finances. But it doesn't mean everything. We've seen teams before at all levels of football. Some have been relegated from leagues this year in some serious standards of non-league football that have got outrageous backing. It doesn't mean everything. So you see a lot of these mock-up predicted leagues at the start of the season, and who's going to it's actually quite a fun exercise looking back at those at the end of the season and where they've all panned out. It's never quite as it looks, even through the summer, and who's won pre-season with their signings and whatever. It doesn't really mean so much as it does on paper.
What does the Scott Harris team look like? What kind of football should we be expecting? And is it, one of the things, to take Hayden, for example, he would always talk about the way he wanted to play. Are you that kind of like idealistic manager, or is it a case of you build your squad and you are going to adapt the way you play to the players you've got?
Well, one thing I would put out there straight away with my teams is I think we've always been known for being quite fit, quite athletic. We should be good on that front. A lot of the lads that are already sort of committed to be here, they're all on top of that, which is a good start, because it's definitely an element of how I like the team to play. There's a lot of movement required. There's a lot of unselfish running. There's a lot of angles having to be made, because we want to have the ball a lot, and it's been what we've been known for the last 2 or 3 years. Even last year at step 3, obviously here I'm referring to a lot of Walton stuff. That's what we've got to go on. So even last year at step 3, acclimatizing a little bit along the way, like come the end, there was a lot of possession in these games, like dominant levels of possession, but there were accidents happening along the way, which set pieces for one, and at the end of last year was a problem for us. Maybe a little bit of that down to the youthfulness of the team. But yeah, the team is going to be quite predictable in the way it's going to look, due to the familiarity of a lot of the faces that will be here. A lot of them are well accustomed with what I want, which will be a good head start on that front. In one regard, like I say, we're starting from sort of ground zero at Kingstonian, but in another way, we're not, because a lot of the guys are already on the same page as me as far as stylistic things, a few things sort of tactically with and without the ball, and it should give us a good head start on that front. Hopefully that answers your question in some ways. We should see a lot of goals. That's one thing the team's been good for the last few years. Again, even last season, first year in that standard of football, I think we may have been second top scorers in the league, and God knows how many more we should have had. But show me a manager that isn't complaining about that every week. You're not going to convert all of them, but we should make a fair share of chances.
And in terms of the personnel, obviously, a number of players have already been announced. I guess 2 questions really. What can you tell us about the players that have been announced? What should we be excited about there? And in terms of the players yet to come, should we be expecting more players you worked with before, or how's that process going?
Yeah, so on the guys that we've already got committed, we've got a few bases covered. There's a few defensive guys from the back end. There's a couple of forwards in there. There's some midfielders. Couple in particular names that people will recognise that sort of made some sort of non-league headlines in the last couple of years. Eddie Simon being an obvious one with the goals he scored, especially at step 4. Had a record-breaking period where he scored 4 consecutive hat-tricks, which ended up being a national record at sort of senior football level. He's actually a bit more than a goal scorer already. He's played a lot of his football for me on the left wing, which in fact was the place he was playing when he scored all those goals. He really found like a little niche there. He's played a lot as a 10 as well. So obviously a lot of those things are all based on players' skill sets, really. That is one thing that a lot of these guys, Alex Kelly, another one in particular, who is really, really versatile. Maybe I've upset him a couple of times with insisting on how versatile he is. He's by trade as a centre midfield player, but he's played right back, he's played centre back, he's played up front, he's played everywhere, and he's one of them guys that I'm sure he won't mind me saying, you could give him any job and he'll probably end up with an 8 out of 10. He's one of them players that he just gets football. Whatever job you give him, he keeps it simple, and he's very, very trustworthy. And he's grown into a bit of a leader the last couple of years as well. He'd probably be our vice captain. Joe Hicks, centre back, will be. He's been a long time captain of mine. He even captained our side at Walton Casuals to a couple of seasons as well. He's a real good character guy. One of those lads that whenever there's a new lad that comes into the dressing room, he'd be the first one to start, chirping them and giving them a little bit of stick and making people feel welcome in his own way. You need people like that, and I think one of the fears that people would have coming into like a group when you've got like a core like this that have been together for quite a while is new lads coming in, because it's like, no one wants to be the new boy, but they've all been really welcoming and to new lads over the last few years, and I think it's why that group has sort of swollen a little bit, and it's gone from sort of like 5, 6 lads to like 7, 8, 9 that just are inseparable on and off the pitch. So those little things I think add up to extra percentages as you go along. I don't think it's any surprise that this team has come back from a lot of deficits, turned things around when all looks lost, and it's I think all of that plays into it.
And in terms of names that you're thinking about adding to the squad, again, are we thinking players you worked with before, new names, players that are already at K's? How are all those things going to mesh?
A few different parts to that. So new names that, let's just put it bluntly, that are not coming from Walton and Hersham. There definitely be 3 or 4. We've got a couple that are in the works at the moment. At this time of year, a couple of guys, like to duck and dive a little bit. They don't want to give you full commitment because someone else might ring up in a minute. Liverpool might be on the phone, or they play a bit of a waiting game, some of them. But no, all things looking good. I mean, obviously, again, I'm not going to be going naming names at the moment on that kind of thing. I just think it's standard business. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on those, but there'll definitely be some. And with regards to people that finish the season at K's, I've had conversations with 2 or 3 of those. We've had some decent chats. A couple that we'll circle back with, and for reasons on their part as well as mine. That there's definitely time to see what unfolds with a couple of those. I know that 2 or 3 in particular are, being big favourites here for a while. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on those. I'd take like Eddie, for instance, to say. I mean, he's obviously done really well at the level above last season. I know for a fact that he had a lot of interest from other clubs as the season went along, because it's natural. People look at a team that's hanging in there and think, well, they've got this guy that scored 20 odd goals. We could take him. Whatever. And I think he was really loyal to K's last season. But rightfully so, he's probably thinking he belongs at the level above, and maybe maybe that he might get an offer he can't refuse out there. And we'll see what unfolds with that. I mean, if there can still be a home here for him, then we'll see. But yeah, at the end of the day, Jamie, all these people, they're their own boss. As soon as that final whistle blows at the end of the season, it's everyone's fair game, and there's a lot of phone calls going on out there all day, every day, between managers and players and mates of players and whatever else. So it's sometimes you think you're sure of something, and 10 minutes later, it's not how you thought it was. So yeah, it makes me a little bit reluctant to say too much on people.
But you're not bringing Max Huswick back for his 17th spell.
No, not quite. No, he's happily retired. He's one of those lads that I think the minute the boots finally got hung up, they were never ever going to be coming back. But yeah, I think we'll see him though. He'll come down and grace us and watch a couple of games. He'll be seen at some point. And I must say as well, in regards to other lads that finished the season at the club, the lads from Nigel's youth team in particular that sort of really helped plug some holes at the end there. Now quite a few of them are going to be over age for Nigel now, like moving into like their under 19 year. I'm literally in the process of gathering up names, numbers, who we're going to be looking to invite back, because there will be a few. There's some good players there with a lot of promise, and I only had that sort of backed up from what I saw in the cup final last week. So yeah, that will hopefully be something that unfolds and brings some good news for some of those boys, that they'll be sort of back in and around the squad next season, if they want to be here, of course. But I'm hoping they will.
Great. How are pre-season plans shaping up? I think we've seen announcements about friendlies at Shearwater and then one at Rangers Park Vale as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can say at that point?
Yeah, a couple of the other clubs, a couple of our potential opponents have put things out there about games that we've got. We haven't done anything as far as like an official final list yet. In a way, mate, mainly because of experience of knowing that the minute you put one of these things out, you're about to get a phone call where, I mean, I've literally had it this week where I had a game arranged and it's like, oh no, like so and so from the National League want to play us. I'm really sorry, mate. And it's like, we all do it. It's it literally is penciled in, and so as it stands at the moment, we've got, like, I would say, like 80% of our fixtures sort of like solid. And once we get that last one or two properly, let's say, inked in, then we'll just release like a proper list of it. I just don't see the point in doing it and then having to retract something. So just hope everyone can stay patient on that for 5 more minutes, and we'll be with it in due course. We should have. I always aim to try and have like a mixed bag of opponents as far as standard is concerned, and obviously being in a ground share, we're not really at a place where we can be loading up hundreds of home games. So we'll be on the road for a few, but Rangers Park's been good enough to give us obviously a game against them, so we've got that one definitely happening. And the week, I think it's either the week after or the week before. The week after, we have our sort of like home fixture that we can have, and that one is at the moment it looking 99% certain that'll be Bromley that we'll be facing at Rangers Park. So right. Yeah, there's one to make note of, but yeah, the rest of them I don't want to go too far on as far as announcing, because I'll end up backtracking.
Great. Well, Scott, thanks for your time. Welcome to the club. I believe, are you at the Supporters Club party next Friday? Might be the next point. Yes,
that is my
can meet you.
Yeah, I think Martin Lee's going to be there as well. I hope. I think he is. I mean, we haven't mentioned him, but that's another. Yeah. I hope will make people happy to see another ex-player and someone that I think was much loved during his time at the club. He's going to be working with me. Been sort of a long time coming, that one. He nearly joined up with us at Walton a couple of times, and he's been a long time friend of mine who I grew up playing with and against, and yeah, I know that we're on the same page when it comes to football, and I think he's going to be a big asset to us. So yeah, hopefully myself and him will be seen at the party.
Great. Well, thanks for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot.